And we're back with another episode of Nah Man. Welcome to our new segment called What Really Happened. You can look at it as a double entendre where people ask what really happened during the game. And we break down the game of what really happened. Before we continue, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. It'll be greatly appreciated. All right, let's get into it, man. There was a marquee matchup between the Packers and Philadelphia Eagles, man. This game was a great game. I was looking forward to it, man. Full disclosure, I'm a Packers fan, so I was fully locked into this game for the weekend for the playoffs to kick off. Coming into this game, I know this would be a tough task for the Packers because they haven't really been playing well in the last 3 weeks of the season. And if you know NFL, you know you have to go into these playoffs hot. Granted, the Philadelphia Eagles were kind of in the same limbo to whereas they lost Jalen Hurts to a concussion. So they didn't know what was going on and they sat out. So they didn't get to see anything, what he can do and get the rust off or things and that such. But when you got a running back like Saquon Barkley, that wasn't too big of an issue for Philadelphia coming into the game because they already red hot with the number 2 seed. So that's why the Packers have to face them because they have the number 7 seed. If you know the seeding goes, the top goes against the bottom. First seed gets a bye. And it's looking really good. First point of emphasis. This game was truly won in the trenches. Couple big plays here and there, but this was really done during the trenches, man. Great line. The Packers went against one of the toughest lines probably in the NFL this year. I believe they ranked number 1, so crazy thought to be having to go through there and try to get a win. Packers had to go in there and win against one of the best offensive line in the NFL today. So a major key too also that we cannot forget, man, turnovers was the biggest factor in the downfall of what was going on with the Packers, man. Off rip, kickoff return. Nixon gets rocked for the fumble. Fumble recovery, and looked like he did recover it back, but we all know the eyes above you gotta be certain once the refs call it. So the refs called it Eagles ball, and they left it that way, which is I already figured that it was gonna be like that. So off rip with a turnover like that could be deflating to a team. So off rip, Packers turned it over. Eagles was able to capitalize that with a touchdown, with a quick and a few couple plays, man. So that really kind of hurt the Packers with the quick turnaround. Another factor was penalties. Costly penalties. Even though the penalties disparity wasn't that far apart, with Packers having 8 and the Eagles having 7, with those penalties came with 85 yards for the Packers against the Packers, and for the Eagles, it was 64 yards. And the penalties that was against the Packers surely hurt them. Especially the one that Nixon did in the out of bounds against Saquon Barkley. That was a costly when it was 3rd down and they still had a chance because they was most likely going to punt the ball. Down 9 points, they still had a chance to try to make a move. Another key note that we need to be reminded of is injuries. We had a lot of injuries to the Packers team. We had Romeo Doubs, looked like he had another concussion. We had Reed, who got hit and looked like it was a stinger, dislocated his shoulder. We're not going to call it stinger. We're just going to call it dislocated shoulder. It's still coming out what happened. Jenkins, one of the Packers linemen, he got injured. Packers left guard, he got benched after receiving 3 holding penalties. So that's another factor that was going on in the trenches, is because the Eagles was killing the left guard for the Packers. they couldn't do nothing with him. Also, on the flip side of that, the Eagles' offensive line did not let them get touched. Did not let Hurts get touched. I mean, he did get 2 sacks, but that was late in the game, and it was more of whatever sacks. The Packers faced off one of the toughest defensive lines in the NFL. They seemed that they couldn't protect Love for too much. Josh Jacobs did what he could do with 79 yards of rushing off of 18 touches, which was okay numbers in the fact that he is the Packers' number one go-to person. Saquon, he did a great job too, all 119 yards. They held him essentially around 100 yards until he got that breakout, which, shout out to Saquon Barkley for being such a stand-up guy. He knew the game was out the way. He didn't want to rush for the last touchdown. He slid and let the time run out, which was a real stand-up position. But for this game, in totality, the Packers wasn't ready. They truly ran into a bigger and better opponent, to whereas they're going to have to do some fixes in the offseason. The fixes might be coming from the offensive line. Probably Jair Alexander is going to be out of there. Probably Christian Watson is going to be out of there. Probably not, because his injuries are probably going to keep him here. They got to revamp that line. The defensive schemes looked okay at best for the year, but it took a downward spiral towards the end of the season. They got a new defensive coordinator this year. He did pretty decent, but towards the end, they did some costly plays to keep teams in the play. Packers seem to always have a late start. Always the second half when they start to get it going, and that can't happen in the NFL. Some teams was not going to let you come back. So, off-season wise, Packers have a few things to look forward to and trying to fix. Eagles get to move on. They get to see who they will face. The Vikings do face LA Rams tonight, and we shall see what happens. Hopefully, we get to see a great game. NFL postseason has been a great start. Let's see where things go, man. Also, man, my name is Coop. You can follow me at Coop_1988 on most platforms. And I also do stream. You can catch me on Twitch. You can catch me on TikTok. You can catch me at all these sites at Coop1988. So make sure at Coop_1988. And again, people, make sure you like, share, subscribe, especially to this new segment that we call What Really Happened. Peace.